It probably would have gone a lot later downstairs if they didn't. But yeah, see a few faces from last night at that time, looking fresh-faced. But yeah, we're going to get day 2 started. We got a bunch of different vendor speakers today, and guys, if you could all just grab your seats and wrap up your conversations, please. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna move on to yep. Let these guys grab their seats, sir. Okay, but we're gonna move on to Bob's gonna do a little intro, and then we're gonna have our first vendor speech, which is you're gonna have to bear with us. We've got remote people, someone on the stage, and there's a video too. So if we pull all that off without any glitches, then the gods are shining on us. So hopefully that works out. But Bob, I think you wanted to say a few words to open up day 2, so I'll bring you back up to the stage. Bob Allen.
Thank you very much, Chris, and good morning, everyone. I see we got this serious technical crowd here today, and normally on our event, we try to get our political guys to come for the first day, and they generally head back to Victoria or wherever because they're not so interested in the technical piece of our presentations. But we do have a few folks. Claire from the CRTC has staying for the second day to meet people and learn about our industry. So great opportunity if you see Claire cruising around to have a chance to speak to a CRTC commissioner. And just a few updates on our association for the members. We are, of course, you heard about the large grant funding program that's envisioned for the next 4 years coming down the pipe. And we have as an association of smaller companies, we have some concerns about our members' ability to participate in the program along the timelines and rules that are being suggested. They may be unfavorable to our members. However, I think that if we follow Howard's advice and get rolling now and identifying our projects and pricing our projects and trying to help with this transition to move to beyond fixed wireless to hybrid networks of perhaps microwave backhaul connecting small communities that are fibered together. We have a number of our members who've succeeded at this and can help some of the other members, and we've got some great vendors and construction companies here today to talk to. So I think that we can put together some pretty good applications. I mean, I think this is a golden funding opportunity in that we have 90% funding potential, 75 to 90% of the capital cost is on the table. And historically, through the history of granting programs until recently, it tended to be in maybe the $500 a home subsidy kind of range. However, that changed abruptly last fall, and a year ago, in fall of 2020, when with the Economic Recovery Fund, we had a $90 million immediate burst of funding available that subsidized up to 90% of your construction cost. And it was a great program, and a number of our members were able to take advantage of it, but it was a very short application window, and that doesn't lend itself to making an application unless you actually have your application somewhat ready to go and your business plan somewhat developed. So we've got as an industry, we have to double down here over the next 2 months and identify our projects and cost them, and try to deal with the economics. Of course, the grant process can be a little unkind, particularly some of the federal programs where you may exhaust significant resources designing a project. And in the past, particularly if it was a federal project, you might find that you had your development plan for the next year or so. You reached out for the supporting funding, and then we're left on hold waiting for the approval. I think in the case of ABC Communications, we once waited 2.5 years to be told that we weren't successful on a federal program. So that's not helpful to small operators when they need certainty and they need to be able to predict their construction plans going forward. So we are, as an association, we're going to put together a position paper to present to the provincial government that will outline our objectives and requirements, so that smaller ISPs who've served many of these rural markets, they've been the main provider of broadband service for over 20 years. So it's very important for those businesses now to step up to the plate and make those applications, because TELUS certainly will take advantage of this funding program, and a good deal of the funds are earmarked for TELUS, frankly, because they are in many regions of rural British Columbia. They're the only one owning a backbone infrastructure, so it's kind of their responsibility and opportunity to take the funding and further push their last mile fiber network out into the community. However, there's a reason there is these unconnected homes, nominally 115,000 unconnected homes, many of whom would be existing satellite customers, and they're difficult to connect. And even with 100% capital subsidy, you would probably find that you've moved into an operational loss to venture into that market. So the governments of the day have not crossed the line into offering operational subsidies for high-speed internet. Back in the day of voice systems, that was actually the rural regime was done by that. The incumbent telephone company was expected to serve everyone and subsidize that with its revenues from urban markets. And since it was a managed financial model, they were able to do that. Today, in a more competitive landscape, that's a bit more difficult. They've started the first half of that formula, which is a tax on internet service providers above a certain size in the urban markets. So the CRTC is collecting significant funds now towards that process, but it goes out in terms of capital grants to players at this time, not to operating subsidies. But operating subsidies have been suggested already by our minister, that perhaps they would consider subsidizing a Starlink service to bring it down to a more reasonable range. Starlink, I believe, correct me, I think it's about $140 a month for a rural customer to connect to Starlink, which is much higher than what an urban person would pay for their internet service. So there's some concerns about, is that okay? I mean, if you look at it, we don't need to do anything to cover rural British Columbia because it's covered by Starlink. So we don't need to spend $630 million to do that of the taxpayers' dollars. But of course, that leaves the rural people with a service that's much higher priced than urban counter. And there are a few drawbacks with satellite, I'm sure we're all aware of. So just to point out of our thrust and to reach out to the members who are here today, we are going to be seeing some mail from us on trying to pull out the opinions and positions of our members and their needs and how long it would take them to get their application together, and then we plan to put together a position paper and take that to government. And once we have that ready to go, then I know the minister would be willing to speak to us, and we'll go up the chain through Howard and Susan, and we will hopefully get a receptive hearing from Victoria on our requests. Mostly, I think we'd be looking for dealing with two problems. One, the time frame to complete your application. For example, if you're a small municipality and you wanted to apply, municipalities can't do too much at all in terms of making a legal commitment in a 60-day time frame to submit an application. So they're challenged. Small internet service providers need to define their market area. They need to get an engineering piece done so that they have something to get some pricing on. They have to find a contractor to assist them with that. So the 60-day time frame that they're talking about strikes me as being a bit unrealistically short. And this is a 4-year program, so there actually isn't any real need for it to be such a short timeline. But anyway, that's one of the key things that we see coming towards us, and I think it's important not only for our members, but also for the BC construction community, who've enjoyed a kind of a heyday over the last 5 years of fiber contracts coming out of the majors. But they're coming to the end of their build cycle, and I think that it would be great if a competitive industry could spring up and begin to utilize some of those talents that the province has developed in fiber construction over the last 5 years. Anyway, I wanted to bring everyone up to speed on what we see as the challenge there, and hopefully the association can rise to the occasion. We have a little bit of money put together for a initiative, and we have a team assembled to put this together. So we hope to get it at the door in the next 2 weeks or so. Time is fairly short here because they're talking about an end of July application start. So May, June, July, and then 60 days, and off you go. So anyone has some ideas, by the way, flag me down during the day. I'd be happy to go over them with you. But not to take up the entire morning session on our challenge here. Our first speaker is TP Link today, and I'm going to let Chris introduce them. Yeah. Thanks very much.